sees the memes of production, and the like and subscribe button. Actually, that would have been a funny bit, because Elon, since this humiliating defeat, basically, like, thank you, basically, like, hasn't talked about it publicly. So you could say, like, here's Elon's response to getting blown the f*** out. Not to get ahead of myself. Good night, y'all.
Okay. So, Elon, for one last time, why don't you remind the viewers why the election in Wisconsin is so important to America as well as the Trump agenda?
Absolutely. So the reason that because it does seem like, why isn't this rather a small thing? It's happening ironically, of course, on April Fool's Day. This is not an April Fool's joke.
It's not a joke. The election's not a joke. Even though I know it's happening on April Fool's Day. The election's actually on April Fool's Day, which is epic. Epic and not, but it's not a joke.
A judge race election in Wisconsin will decide whether or not the Democrats can gerrymander Wisconsin in order to remove 2 House seats from Republican to Democrat. Because of the razor-thin margins in the House,
I wish they would do that.
Potentially a flip of the House from Republican to Democrat. That means at the next election, roughly less than 2 years from now, the House will then immediately take action to stop the president's agenda. And it's always worth reminding people the president was elected with a majority of the people of America. The majority,
1.8% margin.
Majority of the popular vote. So all the president is trying to do is implement the will of the people.
Mandate of the,
and they're trying to stop the will of the people.
It is the mandate of the people that I personally spend tens of millions of dollars buying the Supreme Court special election in Wisconsin. That's true. Everything everyone on the right does is ordained by the mandate of heaven. And yet, you know that trend that was around for a while where you would have like videos that end in somebody getting hurt or something getting broken, and they would do like the opposite of foreshadowing by like cutting to the frame of the thing exploding at the end of the video, but then continue the video. So you'd be seeing like a 10-second video of a skateboarder trying a trick, and it would keep cutting to the last frame where he's got like he like hits himself in the dick with the board, and then you just watch it anyway because you want it, like the subtle foreshadowing. Okay, here's subtle foreshadowing. Dun dun. 10 points. A 10-point win. Despite all the millions and millions and millions of dollars he spent, the illegal election lottery where he handed off 2 $1 million fake checks, one of whom went to a youth Republican organizer. Truly, like, surely by coincidence. Epic. Literally by coincidence, April Fools. A 10-point goddamn margin. Yeah, it looks like there's a new mandate. Of course, they're whining about this being, you know, cheating or whatever. But
through judicial trickery. And in fact, in general, there's a huge problem with activists that are actually politicians in judges' robes. And that needs to stop. It's undermining the integrity, the reality, and the perception of the integrity of the legal system.
Holy shit, I didn't see this. This was his coat post. I expected to lose, but there is value to losing a piece for a positional gain. The self-application of slams car door on dick. Masterful gambit, sir. Unbelievable coping. It's just, it boggles the mind how stupid you have to be to type something like this out and think it'll land with anyone. Actually, I meant to spend millions and run an election lottery illegally, but then lose. Just one step in the grand game of 40 chess that I'm playing. But chess isn't simple enough for me. It doesn't have tech trees. That's why I prefer stuff like... What did he say he preferred? Remember that old post of his where he was like, I don't like chess because it doesn't have tech trees. It's not complex enough for my mind. Yeah, it doesn't have fog of war. Polytopia. Isn't Polytopia like a mid-game? Like, it's not... I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like... Not... It was a mobile game. That's incredible. That's really cool, man.
System of the United States... And these fake judges should be ashamed of themselves. They are not. They are just pretending to be judges. But they are not. They are making the law instead of implementing the law. It's wrong.
Yes, and they're activists. And you say that you can both register and vote today?
Yes, you can both register and vote today. And the voting stations close at 8 p.m. local time.
10-point loss. It looks like Elon actually cost his guy votes. This is the thing that I'm really, really, really excited about. What I predicted with my giant brain, sorry, losing one piece for a positional gain, thank you, was that what we're looking at here basically is like a canary in the coal mine for the momentum of of the oligarchy. Like, how much time do you have after the inauguration? How much goodwill can you burn through before your name starts to become poison, you know? Elon's endorsee ran 5 points behind the other statewide Republican candidate. That's an unbelievably negative return on investment. Only Elon Musk could find a way to buy an election. You know, how do you spend money to lose it harder? Susan Crawford 10 points over Brad Schimmel in the final. Jill Underly only 5 points over Brittany Kinzer. That's not necessarily like a perfect litmus test. You know, you don't know for sure that's representative, but it's probably indicative at the very least. At the very least, you can say for sure that Elon's attempt at mobilizing people to win the election completely failed. And I think you could reasonably say it backfired. Now, our effort to mobilize progressive victory to get people out there to canvass and phone bank for Crawford, clearly that succeeded. Basically, what I'm saying is that, you know, I'm the real oligarch. Thank you. I canvassed. Well done doing my best. You really were. Elon proclaims the entire destiny of humanity rests on Wisconsin Supreme Court election. That's so cool. Fascists need to maintain a constant state of alarm, but like they run out of words. So it becomes like, you know, actually the school board election in this county of Kansas is basically like the entire fate of humanity hinges on this, essentially. Incredible. The entire destiny of humanity. God, he's such a You know what they're going to do, by the way? Now they're going to argue, how can you say that Elon Musk is an oligarch who bought the election, since apparently his electoral influence doesn't actually do anything? This might have been why he's so desperate for this race, too. Yeah, there is an ongoing lawsuit in Wisconsin over Tesla, but I think this has more to do with the potential for gerrymandering. If the Supreme Court of Wisconsin went red, they would be, like, Wisconsin would be lost possibly for the rest of our lifetimes. Like that, they would use that to do so much damage in so like in like such an irreparable fashion. Listen to this bitch. Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Bradley. Guess which side she's on.
I'm really personally and professionally disappointed that Judge Schimmel lost to Judge Crawford. I think it's going to result in terrible consequences for the state of Wisconsin and for the state of the judiciary.
Yep, Republican makeup.
My four colleagues
I don't want to
have
look at her up close.
politicized our court in a terrible manner. They make political decisions all the time. They rule 100% for the Democratic Party in every case that's presented to them. We had an opportunity to return the court to what it should be, which is deciding cases under the law. And unfortunately, we're simply going to see more politicization of the judiciary. I also think the way Judge Crawford ran her race was disgusting.
In order for this to really land, you have to understand Judge Crawford, now Judge Crawford, it is like the most normal woman possible in the context of an election like this. Like, Judge Crawford is you know, the like, I hate every guy I see in the street. I hate that guy right there, that normal guy walking by. She's Jane Woman. Like, this is what a normal person looks like to them now. And this is very, very, very dangerous for them. Okay? Because it is one thing for, God, this is an unflattering. That's a lot of blue to put on your eyelids if you are a Supreme Court judge. I'm just going to say that's a lot. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying, yeah, and the crazy thing, she's only 19 years old. That's not true. You run down a very like dangerous path from the perspective of the right, because like obviously, so Republicans call everyone a communist, right? Joe Biden's a communist, AOC is a communist, Bernie Sanders is a communist. Literally everyone is anti-white, hates America, communist, etc., etc. Excuse me. You start getting into really dangerous territory when you have the simultaneous problem of not winning new voters and painting everyone to your left as like equally reprehensible. Because what you're basically telling all of Wisconsin right now is like, for one, I, a Republican Supreme Court justice in your state, am a partisan piece of shit monster. And two, like, you actually can't vote in the people you like. Even the so-called normal candidates are enemies of the American people. You know, you're trying to negatively polarize people, but it's clearly not working because Crawford won by 10 points. Yeah, you get locked into a position where you have to be maximally alarmist about absolutely everything, which really does diminish your ability to target certain people and direct your base appropriately. Like, Jesus Christ, Elon Musk saying the future of humanity, the future of the nation's destiny, or whatever the f he said. Like, I'm not saying that this constant alarmism is new, but I feel like for the most part, and please correct, like, I feel like this is just an impressions thing, right? In the first Trump administration, he was a lot better at choosing what to be alarmist over. Overwhelmingly, it was immigration, right? And you had bits with like Iran or whatever. For the most part, the hyper fixated, like, this is the end of the country rhetoric was focused on immigration. China, sometimes. Now it's like everything all the time, everything, every issue, every person, everything, all the time. All of them are existential threats. Yeah, eventually you spread the butter too thin.
She slandered a good man, Judge Schimmel. We saw this last time against Justice Kelly. It's really sickening, and I hope next time the people will see through the lies that misportray good people in these ads. It's a terrible thing to happen to the state.
Why do you think Schimmel lost at the end of the day?
I think that we saw a ridiculous amount of money come in to this election, and I always defend the right of anybody to participate in speaking in elections, and of course...
Yeah, she's essentially saying that Democrats bought the election. This is the kind of person we're dealing with. I don't think she should be a judge. I think this should be like... I think people should be litigious over this. This is like Weimar judge behavior. Right here, this is treasonous. At the very least, this is worthy. This is like grounds for impeachment. The idea, like, somebody pull up the chart for me. I don't even have it up right now. Of oh, here we go. Never mind. I found it instantly because it's all over Twitter. To look at this and go like, well, I think the Democrats bought the election. Like, you should be impeached. You shouldn't have a job, baby. You should be. You need to be under a highway overpass with a coffee cup where you are rattling coins around in. I am pro-homelessness now. I'm sorry. It took me a while, but you've brought me down to your level. I think you should have a cardboard sign where you've written like anything helps on it. Okay? Get your ass down there. An overpass can be a home? You're right, it really can. Gavin Newsom's strongest warrior. All right, get on with it.
Of course, that takes money to do it, but when you see $100 million plus being spent on one state Supreme Court race, that is telling you that the Democratic Party is buying another justice, just like they did with Justice Protasewicz.
Yep.
It needs to stop. Otherwise, there is no point in having a court. This is what the legislature is supposed to do, to make political decisions based on policy. That's not what a court's supposed to do, and unfortunately, we're going to see this happening for at least the next several years.
How are you feeling about working with Susan Crawford on the Wisconsin Supreme Court?
I'm not looking forward to working with her because I think she's, as they have accused us of, and it's simply not true, she is bought and paid for by the Democratic Party. I challenge her to rule one time against the Democrats. I haven't seen that yet from any of my liberal colleagues. But having said that, I will work with her like I've worked with all of my other colleagues and get the work.
Let me just pull this from her Wikipedia page, if I may. Another phenomenal frame of her. Let's see. Bradley's homophobic writings as an undergraduate, published in 1992 in Marquette University student newspaper, stirred controversy during her 2016 Supreme Court race. She had written letters to the editor and a column for the Marquette Tribune in which she stated she held no sympathy for AIDS patients because they were degenerates who had effectively chosen to kill themselves. She also referred to gay people as queers. She called Americans who voted for Bill Clinton, quote, either totally stupid or entirely evil. She blasted supporters of abortion as murderers and compared abortion to the and slavery. She attacked feminists as angry, militant, man-hating lesbians who abhor the traditional family, and defended Camille Paglia, who had written in a 1991 column that, quote, "A girl who lets herself get dead drunk at a fraternity party is a fool. A girl who goes upstairs alone with a brother at a fraternity party is an idiot." Bradley wrote that Paglia had, quote, "legitimately suggested that women play a role in date rape." Bradley apologized for her student writings in 2016, shortly after the controversy arose. Oh, I'm sure. And then she won. How are they all just plain evil? I will never forgive the Democratic Party for perpetuating the myth that there was a good Republican Party. Like, let alone the faults with the Democratic Party. We're not letting them off the hook. But the idea of like, no, underneath all this, there's actually like a really noble, like they've got good ideas about austerity and fiscal responsibility. And then you look under the hood and it's like the veneer of neoconservative respectability is like paper thin. And it's literally just the same shit it's always been. Like, the reason the Tea Party and Trump happened were because the real Republican base were getting increasingly upset at how like play civil their leaders were in Washington. They were like, what the why is it that we're all like all the Republicans around the country, they're like, racist, homophobes, wife beaters, terrible people, right? And they vote in at a local level like Klan members and shit. But then when you vote for a Republican who goes over to Washington, they have to put on a suit and tie and be all like nice and respectable and pretend not to be racist and say like MLK Jr. is actually an American hero. What the Why can't they be out with it? That was the Tea Party, basically. In May 2020, she compared the stay-at-home orders to the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II and labeled them tyrannic. In 2021, Bradley was the sole judge on the Wisconsin Supreme Court to rule in favor of a man who argued that his Second Amendment right allowed him to brandish firearms while intoxicated and arguing with his roommates. Bradley said the conviction against the man erodes a fundamental freedom. That's cool, man. Just like average state level Republican, honestly. Like, it's not even exceptional. I know she sounds exceptional. I swear to God, guys, if you live in a, well, you don't even have to live in a red state. Just go, like, in your state, go look up the Wikipedia pages of any number of your state level Supreme Court justices who are Republican or like state officials, state house members. I'm telling you. Anyway, yeah, as a final humiliation, Brad Schimmel, the opponent of Susan Crawford, got booed when he conceded the race.
Just didn't work. And yeah, I've called Judge Crawford and conceded. No. You got to accept the results. Just don't. Yeah, right. I'm not up here making any joke. This is the numbers aren't gonna turn around. They're too bad.
The rot starts from the base. Well, the base has been constructed. The rot starts from the bourgeoisie and the capital interest of the upper crust, But they have polluted the minds of the base. I'm very never kill yourself. I'm very proud of the people of Wisconsin. A 10-point rejection of him is pretty significant. That's more than I expected. I was hoping for a 3 or 4 point victory. That was like my hope. Getting a 10-point victory. That's pretty dang good. Did you see every single county in Wisconsin shifted blue this election? For this specific vote, yes. Finally, the good version of that map we all saw after the election. That's not a win map. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe the winds are blowing a new direction. Maybe think about that.